This film. I've talked about the culture war and the hoopla surrounding the film twice in this channel, but in every video, I've always maintained the view that from the trailers, Captain Marvel looks bland, unimpressive, and merely acts as a filler for the MCU. There are many times throughout my entire life in which I hate the fact that I was right. And this, well, I can't say that I am shocked at this moment. Welcome to appabendyt's Uncapped. No, this isn't the first Avenger. Today we're gonna be talking about Captain Marvel, the latest film on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But before we get to that, I want to say thank you so much for supporting this channel by liking, sharing, subscribing, and sponsoring me on Patreon, PayPal, and many other means, links down below. So what's the story? Well, Carol Danvers, or as the film called her, Verse, is one of Kree's noble warriors. Verse had amnesia throughout the entire film, and one of her main objectives is to figure out how to restore her memories. During a rescue mission, she's captured by Kree's enemy Skrull, with the leader Talos who are interested in her fragmented memories. In order to restore it, Talos and his Skrull army travel to Earth, but Verse managed to escape and she got stranded in there. So can Verse figure out who she really is and find out the truth behind the war that is happening between the Skrull and the Kree? God, where do I start with Captain Marvel? Let's put it this way. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has offered us a great variety of juice every year. People love these juices. They've had their ups and downs for sure, but when the juice hits, it really hits. Because of this, people are looking forward to their next installment of juices, what kind of recipe that it will offer, what kind of spark that the brand new juice will bring to us. But then the MCU does something odd. When everybody was thirsty for the brand new juices coming out this year, they instead brought water. Just a glass of water with really nothing in there. I mean, it works to quench some of the thirst, but it leaves a lot of people expecting something more. That's what Captain Marvel is. Amongst the wide variety of taste and delicious juice on the MCU menu, there's that one drink that doesn't taste as good, and it does nothing to impress. It's merely there to hold your thirst for a bit, just for the next one, which is probably gonna be a hell of a lot tastier. To put it short, it's a filler film. Nothing more, nothing less. Now sure, Marvel has its fillers filling in the gap, and they are mostly okay. The question that needs to be asked here is Captain Marvel a bad filler? Yeah, it is a bad filler. Is it a necessary one? Not really. If you've seen every MCU film ever, the film doesn't really have a lot of new and interesting information aside from Carol Danvers. And even then, come to think of it, I don't know much about Carol Danvers at all. I mean, I know her general backstory, but I don't know her as a person or as a superhero. And that is something that the Marvel films always do best, and yet it didn't do it as well in this one. The film shows Carol trying to regain her memories through flashbacks, but the flashbacks are so vaguely shown and passes by so quickly that they don't even register to you. They're about as vague as when they were shown on the trailers. The flashbacks mean nothing other than to convey a general point, but the general point itself is not powerful enough for the audiences to be invested. There's a conflict between Carol Danvers and her best friend that should have had some emotional punch to it, but it ends up falling flat and quickly ignored for anything else in the film. You know what's really interesting about this film? The plot of this film is basically Wonder Woman. You have a girl who couldn't figure out who she really is, and she has a duty to stop a war. She then goes to Earth and learns a lot about Earth and its people. Come to think of it, the film's plot twists and themes are also reminding me so much of Wonder Woman. I swear to God, it's like the filmmakers look at Wonder Woman and thought, let's do that, and yeah, let's do that. Now, people really love Wonder Woman. I thought it was fine. It's not the best film ever, but I was relatively entertained. Unfortunately, if you make me to see another film that is just like Wonder Woman, the entertainment value runs out. And there are so many things that this film does that are actually much worse than Wonder Woman. For one, Carol Danvers gets through a lot of trouble just fine. It's very rare for her to actually be in a real problem. All the villains are severely underpowered compared to her. Despite her cracking a few jokes here and there, it doesn't feel natural. Actually, let's talk about the jokes in this film. The humor style of the MCU is something that at this moment should be trademarked. A lot of filmmakers are trying to replicate that humor without understanding what makes them great. MCU humor works when the characters are in character. It works because they rely on the character's personality and the jokes and quips are surrounding that personality. And most importantly, they don't shove it every second. This film shoves it at almost every second. You can even hear the desperate grasp of the film's comedy struggling to get some air. Humor needs timing, humor needs effort, and this film's humor is some of the laziest that I've seen in the MCU. What isn't help is that it shoves the humor to your face and it forces you to make you laugh by the laziest freaking jokes. Cats! Because cats are cute, right? Where was the creativity in the jokes? Where was the jokes that require build-ups and punchlines? Why do you have to resort to lazy and stupid stuff like freaking cats? There's a lot of laziness on display in this film, but to be fair, this film does have some really good ideas. I like the twist that they had on the second half of the film. It's a pretty damn good twist, and it does significantly change the stakes at hand. The Stan Lee tribute on the Marvel logo was absolutely amazing, and it does bring some legit tears. Just a shame that it has to be done on the filler of the MCU, but I suppose they have to do it as soon as possible after his passing. Please do that on the next Avengers when there are more people showing up. The film is so bland and forgettable that there's really nothing worthy to talk about. I got so little information about both Carol Danvers and the MCU in general. The tiniest new information that I got on neither of them aren't really that useful or emotionally impactful. There's something wrong with your film when the trailers give about the same amount of information as the film itself. But then, this film does something that actually makes me to not be able to recommend this film. There's a plot element in this film that is so absurdly stupid that it affects the entire MCU. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna spoil it. Here's a QR code. If you want to know, scan it. I'm not tricking you to open a scary image or something. No links. It's just a text containing an actual spoiler for the film. Have you read that? Yeah. Isn't that stupid? Doesn't that just make you glad to be a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan? Also, this film has the Skrull who looks like lizard people and they can disguise as humans. Have you ever heard of those weird conspiracy theories of the lizard people disguising themselves as humans? It makes me to think that this film takes some plot elements straight out of Alex Jones. Overall, Captain Marvel is a bland filler that doesn't really do anything. At least Ant-Man and the Wasp was entertaining. At least that one contributes to the MCU. This one is just a flashback that isn't really that necessary. I'm not gonna say that you shouldn't see this film because of the hoopla surrounding Brie Larson and the feminists or something. I will say that you shouldn't see this film because it's bland, it's boring, it's tasteless, and frankly, your time is better wasted on something else like Devil May Cry 5, which will be released in a couple of days. This film does a lot of things that many other films have done better, and it doesn't give us any sorts of new or interesting information. The information that it did give to us was useless and even insulting. It's not even a fun film. The action is just fine. It's a typical MCU action flick. There's nothing in this film that I would consider to be special or noteworthy, or at least in a good way. This is, in my opinion, the weakest entry in the entire MCU. It's not a bad film in and of itself, but it is a pretty bad filler. Unfortunately, I cannot convey this in a 5 cap rating, so for the first time and subsequently in the next couple of reviews, I'm ditching the ratings entirely. How ironic that I am turning into Rotten Tomatoes. I thought that the ratings would convey my overall feelings of the film, but it just couldn't, so I'm gonna end with this. Would I recommend any Marvel fans to see the new Captain Marvel? No. But like I said previously, it is water, so you can drink it and you'll be fine with it. Just don't expect too much excitement from it.